Okay, good morning. It's Friday, July 11th. It's here at 10 o'clock in the morning. So pause the video and read this. This is a co-working stream. It's messy. It goes all over the board. We don't always get work done. Just learn how to fast forward, and there's all the references to everything you need. All right. Let's go on with what we're going to do today. So we're going to do gRPC. Never done it, so we're going to follow along in the tutorial in the quick start guide, and we did that. We got started doing that yesterday. So, and we're gonna try to figure out what the main verbs are, the main procedures for our remote procedure call within this thing that we're doing. So I'm actually literally just going to read along in the tutorial for gRPC and go through the quick start guide and do what they tell me. I've already cloned everything down, everything. We're using Glow, which we spent a lot of time downloading and using yesterday to read the markdown files from the terminal. This stuff is, of course, all available from the web if you prefer. You can go there. So I'm trying to think about where I could show it to you here. There we go. Anyway, so let's go for it. This tutorial provides a basic Go program introduction to gRPC. By walking through the example, you'll learn how to define a service in Proto file, generate server and client code using protobuf compiler, use the gRPC API to write simple client server for your service. This assumes you have already getting started guide. We did do that. And we got our examples downloaded. I'm somewhat familiar with protobuf enough to be able to do this. I have a feeling. Note the example in this is using Proton 3 version protocol buffers. You may find more about the Proton 3 language. And the thing, I assume they're using 3 is going to be enough. That's going to be modern enough. But let's just go. It says, please see the notes for new versions. Let's go check the notes out really quick. Let's make sure we're on the latest version. Protobuf has made additional announcements. Protobuf version 24.01. Protobuf additions C++. I don't know. Oh, we had my EPS kicked in. That was weird. I don't know if this says it's version 3 or not. May include additional announcements, pre-announcements for upcoming changes. Drop support for older versions of blah. Language guide Proto 3. Okay, so there's a Proto 3. That's the latest. Okay, good. This isn't a comprehensive guide to gRPC. More references on that coming. Why is gRPC? I don't think I really need to know that. Our example is a simple route mapping application that lets client information about features in the route create a summary of the route, exchange route information such as traffic updates, blah, blah, blah. With gRPC, we can define our service once. Something that's interesting about protobuf is it can actually create a socket, like a tunnel. And why does that matter? Because in our architecture diagram here, we could potentially make it so that the REST API, when the REST API responds to a request, it could actually create a connection, keep it open, and send more than one command through that tunnel. Now, why would that be a thing? That would be if our API, if we wanted to have a single application be able to have a kind of a keep alive situation where it was, REST APIs by default, I don't think they have keep alive built into them. I think that's more a function of the web server serving the HTTP stuff with the whole, put, get, whatever. But if this kept a connection open, then if we had access into the server part of it, we could actually have it do multiple gRPC requests of the same. So having that option is good. We're not going to do that, but having that option is good. Exchange information such as traffic updates with the server getting. With gRPC, we can define our service in a proto file and implement clients and servers in any. Why did they do .proto? I guess whatever. gRPC supported languages, which can turn and be run to the environment ranging from servers inside Google to our own tablet. How are you? I'm doing great. Which in turn can be run in the environments ranging from servers inside Google to our own tablet. All complexity communications to different languages environments handled by gRPC. Blah 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 blah. I think it's so funny that we have to learn IDL again. I learned IDL in '98. In '98, I learned IDL to do Corba, if you remember that far back. We also get all the advantages of working with protocol buffers, including serialization, simple IDL, and it stands for interface definition language, by the way, and easy interface updating. I think IDL is the same as the Cobra one that from original. IDL is the language for specifying interfaces, and interfaces meaning methods, not. The reason we're going with gRPC over REST or something is because we don't want this. We want verbs. We don't want nouns, right? Example code and setup. This example code for our tutorial is blah. gRPC examples route guide. I mean, we were already there. We were already looking at this, so I'm wondering if it was me fixing my scripts. This is in the gRPC-go. This is how to get gRPC, and this is the hello world. The Go basics. Let's take a moment to read this. In this section, you'll update the application with the extra servers. The gRPC service is defined using protocol buffers. Yes, we know. Here is how to do hello world. For now, all you need to know is the server and the client say hello. Remember I said verb versus noun? This is why we want this. RPC method takes a hello request parameter from the client and runs hello reply from the server. And the method is defined like this. So this definition is in IDL. The greeting service definition. Of course, HTTP doesn't mean REST. I never said that. So service greeter sends a greeting. We're going to use HTTP for gRPC. It uses HTTP 2. So, yeah. Sends a greeting gRPC. At some point, gRPC is going to be supported on the internet. When that's really going to change the world when that happens. JSON might go away to some degree. How you doing? So say hello returns hello. The thing I don't like about IDL is it's just weird enough to not be, anything else. It's yet another language we have to learn. The request message containing the user's name, message hello request. The response message containing the greeting, message hello reply. String message equals 1. The one thing is because it increments it. So whenever I learned about this 2 years ago. Whenever you define a protobuf thing, every previous version is always supported, and so it's additive, and that's why there's numbers there. For most use cases, gRPC is over engineering. Yeah, I tend to agree. But JSON, RPC, fuck that. Not doing that. Nope, not in this case. That would be no. So no, I'm not using JSON. JSON RPC is one step off from XML RPC. And I already am not an RPC fan for all the overhead reasons we're talking about. So gRPC is like super duper well established. JSON RPC is good luck finding anybody doing that out there, particularly in Go. The response message containing the greeting. Open hello world.proto, add a say hello method. Same with here. The greeting service the message. RPC say hello, returns hello reply. Question message contains the username. The response message containing the greeting. Remember to save the file. Regenerate RPC code. Now, this is the thing I don't like. I don't like code generators, but with RPC, you have to do that. So it's kind of the way things go. Yeah. Accepting, returning JSON. Yeah. Yeah. If we want to implement our own API using JSON and just thumb our nose at all the standards out there, that's totally doable. I'm actually totally cool with that, but I'm not going to be able to get anybody else to do that. So yeah, there's nothing stopping me from making a URL that's a verb, an endpoint that's a verb, and just saying screw HTTP, get, put, and update and delete and all that, and then just make it into a method call. There's nothing wrong with that. I could totally do that. The problem is that we would have to document this thing, and then how do we communicate with it? One of the things about RPC that we are getting gRPC is that any language. So if somebody wants to write Python that can talk to so let's go back to the architecture diagram. If somebody wants to write an API, any other piece of architecture inside of here that wants to talk to, what do we change the name to? Secure, whatever, SSH client coordinator. I think we called it the secure authenticated or something. A remote command execution. That was the last thing we called it anyway. So this a Sakura server. It's a server. It's 100% a server. A service. The Sakura server. Well, I mean, if we do it with gRPC, anything can invoke it. Any language at all can speak a gRPC. That's why we're doing that as opposed to customizing our own. And we can generate endpoints for that anywhere at all as well. REST-ish by having job endpoints, for example. Yeah. Yeah, people do it all the time. People use REST and they do /job/ whatever. I don't like it. I never have liked it. I mean, it feels like, I don't know. Let me think about that. So, I mean, it feels like if you were to do like jobs submit, jobs status, jobs, yeah. Any language can send HTTP requests as well, right? Yeah, they can. The difference is, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is a good debate. Well, because I don't know if I like the idea of jobs though. Because I don't know. Post jobs, get jobs, delete a job. The problem with jobs, if we use that as an endpoint, is that's going to be confused in my case with batch processing jobs, which are not the same thing. They're totally different. So that I'd have to come up with another plural noun on which I could give it different methods, Um, I mean, it becomes a matter of like the server, right? So what I want to know about gRPC is, what does the server code look like? I know in REST, I know that I'm going to have to pick a framework, Gorilla Mux or Gin or something to implement the REST API, right? If I get a full-blown stable server code that has currency and threading and all that shit in it, awesome. But I'm leery. I mean, whether or not you write an OpenAPI and then you generate we've learned the hard way. I personally have learned last year that you never ever want to generate code from OpenAPI. It's just horrible. It's never what you want. You have to regenerate every time. So this is tough for me because I'm kind of weighing not knowing, I absolutely know that gRPC and protobuf and Go, at least in the Go version, has very definitive code generation. It's like a part of it. If you don't do the code generation, it's more like you're doing it wrong if you're using protobuf and gRPC. If you don't do code generation with OpenAPI, that's your choice, and there's lots of reasons not to. So, being Friday, being kind of a Friday where we take a moment to learn about different things, I'm actually going to go through the hassle. Some of you might not want this, but I'm going to go through what this would look like in gRPC. And I've already done that with OpenAPI. We already have an idea of what that would look like. And I know the considerations for OpenAPI because I've already, the OpenAPI is REST, by the way. That was something we discovered yesterday, and I was not completely sure of that. OpenAPI is specifically for, and I quote, HTTP APIs, right? And it further, as we read into it, it further qualifies that as meaning using the HTTP methods, get, put, delete, update, for updating, things like that, post. And any API that doesn't, which is fundamentally, they might as well just say REST API, right? And the problem I have with REST APIs is that they're built on nouns. They're representational state transfer. That means you have these declarative objects all over, and you're transferring the state of something across the thing. So the fundamental architecture of REST is fucked up. I hate it. I hate the baseline. REST is only designed to be used for things that can be put, updated for basically CRUD, right? Create, replace, update, delete. The end, right? That's its core design. And the core design of what we want to do is we want to do a thing. We want a verb. We don't want to transfer state between, things. We don't want CRUD that's going to be updating something and force this like job, this idea of a job in the middle or running execution of a thing or at a fucking factory. We want the verb. We want that to be center in the entire thing. So all of the RPC, the remote procedure versus, object state. So if, that's what's at odd here. Okay. And I am a little frustrated because gRPC should not be this hard, right? It should just be really easy to do, and you shouldn't have to write another language. There's pros and cons to both of these. But again, the benefit of picking one of the standard ways of doing it is because other people are going to be able to sustain it versus growing your own. So, if you're doing web, you'll need gRPC web proxy if Hurdle is doing web. Well, that's another reason is I'm actually not doing web, right? So I'm going to put the client into this component. So gRPC. The reason it's so popular inside Kubernetes is because you don't have to do any of that stuff. You can just have client and servers, hard coded into your apps. And I assume, I don't know. We're going to do that. We're going to go ahead and do that. That's why exec and logs are not included in the Kubernetes OpenAPI spec. Yeah. The gRPC value proposition, you don't get it. You're trying to do. Well, because it's better than creating a REST API where I have to pretend that I created. I just can't. Look, I may go back on this and do it after all and say, hey, that's easier. I'm going to just do it. But I can't stomach as an architect forcing something that is a verb, a remote procedure, into a dumbass noun called jobs just to be able to make the entire architecture work because it's simpler. That drives me nuts. I would actually rather do something more complicated that is architecturally sound than that. I mean, and that's pushing me through protobuf, which is going to power me through the next hour. Okay, so let's go back to playing with gRPC and see what it's like. And then we'll weigh it. We'll say, hey, how am I going to invoke this thing? There's three ways, by the way. There's three ways for us to invoke what we ultimately want to be able to do is call SSH.run, right? And that's going to be reusing a connection to a target, reusing a TCP/IP SSH connection to a target. It's already been tunneled and everything. And we're going to go SSH.run, and that's going to send one command down with its standard input piped, and then it's going to capture the buffer, and that code's already been written. Okay, we don't have any multi-connection management written or anything like that, but the code to run the thing has already been done. So that's ultimately what we want to do. There's 3 ways to do that. The simplest way is to code a call in the middleware over here so that the library is integrally meshed with the middleware, in which case it would no longer be any logical separation between the two. So that means when HTTP request comes in to run a thing, it would actually fire off that thing, which means we'd have to do all of the round robining and everything inside of the API code, the implementation, which can be done. We talked about doing that. And then that would pull it off. But the reason it got kind of messy is we started looking at package globals and stuff like that in order to manage it, because when Gin runs, it takes a thing, it fires off a child go routine, and then that runs its thing. We can use that for the separation, right? But then how do we reuse an existing tunnel, right? So we'd have to pool those, and I mean, there's totally ways this could be done in memory and then if we did that, by the way, then the library, this Sakura component, would be compiled into the API code, and that would be, so they would become one and the same. There would be you couldn't use it unless you built an application that used it, right? And that is definitely one approach. That is the first approach that I tried. That kind of thing would require, multiple layers of concurrency management. That kind of seems silly because you've already got concurrency by the API. The API framework, Gin in the case, has already forked off, or essentially, not really, but a go routine, and it's already managed that, right? And then it needs to talk to something. Well, right now, it fires up its own TCP/IP connection to the SSH thing, runs its stuff, and comes back. The end, right? And that is the easiest solution. That is to implement. It's the easiest one to implement because we don't care. And right now, actually, you can look at this code. It's in rwxrub/ssh. That will take from a list of 3 hosts and randomly pick one and just connect to it, right? Because it's making a new SSH connect, making a new TCP/IP connection every time. But as soon as you start adding a pool of connections to reuse, then there's some level of initialization that has to happen outside of that connection request. So when the REST API query comes in to go run the SSH thing, instead of just firing up a new one, building a new SSH client, new connection, everything, and making the call, you'd have to have a method call that would hand off a client from an existing pool of clients that's been initialized at startup. So now we're talking about creating a method that has to be called by the API at initialization time. In other words, before the server gets fired off. So it doesn't fit as cleanly into the the route implementation in gRPC. It would have to be, and I know that Gin actually supports that, but what you have is you'd have to have some sort of controller initialization that would have to be handed off at the highest level before the API could even be invoked. And then you would have to share a reference to that specific controller, to everything in the entire API. Well, now we're talking about a macro closure inclusion, right? Now we're talking about something in the global namespace, which now has to be included in every single API request, right? And there's millions of ways to have a pass it as a Gin context. We could include it in the package at top level. We could, but whatever it is, I mean, we could instantiate a message channel at the top level of the packages and have all our API stuff, send requests to the channel, and then have the channel all brokered and everything inside of this other logical, but internal memory space we're pulling. I mean, no matter what you do though, it's ultra messy code because at that point you're like, we really just need a service that we want to, because you're writing a service. You're just writing an in-memory service, is what you're doing. You're writing an in-memory service, and that's fine. But another way to do that would be to make a separate REST service that's secured and localized and all that. That's how you do it in Unix, right? You'd use a pipe. You'd use a F5O, first in, first out pipe, or you'd use a Unix TCP/IP local TCP/IP socket, or any number of ways. But you'd have, you know, as, not really physical, but you'd have almost a physical separation between the API executable and the other thing that's running, and they're both running concurrently right next to each other. But the one has to talk to the other one, and then you have to deal with IPC and all that, right? So when it's all in the same memory space, the IPC ultimately at the low level is shared memory if you're using Go routines, and you don't have access to that. You could build your own, but that's that's one of the ways. The other ways, of course, is in the REST thing, and then you have a totally separate API, and that component that's implementing the REST API can be anywhere. It can be in its own pod, its own container. It can be whatever, anything can use it as long as it authenticates. And the same thing goes for gRPC. The only difference between the OpenAPI REST version there and gRPC is that one is focused on remote procedures and the other one is focused on representational state transfer, which is objects. And I mean, that's and then the complexities of implementing either of them. But all of these are about interprocess communications. The difference between RPC and REST versus this other in-memory stuff is that you have truly separated processes. You've got processes that aren't even on the same machine. I mean, they could be on, a completely separate machine. So how much separation do we need? What is the cost of that separation for maintenance, and et cetera, et cetera. And then we landed kind of where we are right now, where we want to have basically a server with a service that's answering requests, and we don't care where they come from. We don't care. And there's really only one request that I care about right now: run. That's it. And I don't even care. I don't care how it gets to it. I don't care which one. So it's a different policy, right? The only policy I really care about is getting something to run on any of the machines, based on which one's available. But there's a lot of other layers that I want to add here eventually. So, yep. Create something like an execution, especially for long running process. Yeah, obviously, yeah. Yeah, it's when we run something, it's gonna run for a long time, and then it comes back. But the run command actually returns. It either gets timed out or it returns. It's not a login. We already went through that already, like 2 days ago. So I'm not gonna rehash that. So let's go back to regenerating RPC code. Before we can use the service method, we need to recompile and update the proto file. This is the part that people get annoyed with. While still in the example, we'll hold directory run the following command: protoc, go out, blah, blah, blah. This will regenerate the hello world pb.go files. And this is where people start going, oh my God, JSON is so much easier than this. Because, you got this code generation going on. And in Go in particular, you have to use their code. You can't really. Here's the server, by the way. Open greeter server, add the following function. And then you add your implementation to tell it what you want it to do. Update the client. Open greeter client main.go. The following code to the main function. Say hello, CTX. Ugh, I fucking hate context. Can I just say? And so a / execution REST endpoint makes sense, right? No, it doesn't. There's no such thing as a / endpoint. What you're suggesting would violate REST because we wouldn't be able to add a v1 or v2 in there. If you wanted to make / the endpoint and have it have an inferred object, You could do that, but the rest people that are looking, I don't even know if you can write it in an OpenAPI that way. If it can be represented in OpenAPI that way, I might be willing to consider it, but otherwise, no. What you're suggesting is that we make slash an implicit object and that the procedures be the CRUD methods on the object, and that there's no other thing. Executions. Oh, slash executions. Um, yeah, I just don't like it, man. The other reason I don't like it is because you're gonna have to, REST forces you to use something that matches get, post, and delete CRUD, and you can't force everything into CRUD, man. You can't do it. It's like trying to write to. I don't. This is why REST is so unpopular. It's very unpopular. People are using REST like crazy right now, and Kubernetes has gone back to it. And but if I'm serious, go look at the REST architecture out there. It's the APIs. They're shit because they've had to force everything into these four. The reason RPC or gRPC is blowing up in the world right now is because it doesn't limit. It's not stupid. REST is stupid. You have to force everything architecturally into get, post, put, and delete. The end. And if you can't do it, sure you can do everything with curl. This is another thing with RPC that's really annoying. Okay. So actually let's I'm gonna lose my voice on this today because today's gonna be a big long one. The biggest argument against protobuf is I can't use curl anymore to do my debugging. And that is a pain in the ass. That is the reason that REST continues to beat everything else. I mean, you can do REST, you can do curl with GraphQL too, but it's annoying as hell. If you ever done that, it's super annoying, man. But you can do it, right? You cannot do. There's no curl to test protobuf. There are probably tools to use equivalents to do that, right? But I don't know what they are. So we have to weigh that part of this situation. Being curlable is the reason I believe that REST continues to win out over protobuf for most APIs that don't have performance demands, and I said so 2 days ago. That's why I went down the OpenAPI rabbit hole for 3 hours. So, yeah. You love gRPC and REST, but there's always going to be trade-offs between them. Yeah, absolutely. Some people always choose one or the other regardless of what situation calls for it, which, unfortunately... But, I like it that we're having this debate because the people that are watching this, I mean, you can see how frustrated I am. The people that are watching this are going to be at least aware of the conditions, right? I mean, somebody just said that the general tendency is people to use what they know. And that's stupid. It's like really fucking stupid to pick the thing you know, even if it's the wrong thing. If nothing else comes out of this ranty video and my lost voice, let it be that. Pick the right thing that matches the architecture and go to whatever lengths you have to. And if it doesn't exist, make a new one. But try to use what's there. Let me give you. Let's go through the pros and cons of REST versus gRPC here. Okay. I think I just uncovered another really huge one. It almost makes me not even want to look at gRPC anymore for right now. Last time I did gRPC, I had this same bad taste in my mouth because of all this generator shit, and you can't debug it. The worst part of gRPC, and I am a noob with gRPC, but the bottom line is that when you are debugging and playing around with APIs, you need to be able to query those APIs regularly, right? And in order to regularly query and change iteratively the changes to your... So let me give you an example of this, okay? So if you're using a REST API, even if it sucks because you have to force it into CRUD, you can still add a new endpoint by just adding some other way to respond to that particular thing. You can use NetHTTP for that, right? And there's nothing that has to be recompiled. There's no regeneration of protobuf. There's nothing. So you go, you say, okay, you know what? It'd be nice if we had another endpoint there or another operation. So, and you do get the operations. They're just off of the endpoints because it's OOP. REST was made when in the middle of OOP madness. That's why it's the way it is it thinks everything is an object. Anyway, so if you want to do it, right? So you change something to your API, you add a new endpoint or a new thing, and you do it all on the server side. You can do it live and restart your server, boom. And then you can run your same exact test code using curl and from bash. But to do that exact same iterative development thing for protobuf, you have to recompile the server. You have to take the protobuf, make the changes to the protobuf, right? Recompile the server and the client, create a stub client, recompile whatever stub curl replacement that you have, because you cannot use curl for gRPC. So you have to create an application just to do your fucking testing. So you make some simple main thing and you compile it all up, and now you've got a way that you can run this thing. And God help you if it doesn't print out JSON, right? You can run this. You can run this test client, right, in order to query your gRPC stuff. But as you can see, there's many more steps that have to take place there just to make a nice little change. And when you talk about why Python and Perl won, the 90s and early 2000s for enterprise software, is because of the flexibility of interpreted languages to be able to create them. And then there was a backlash against it in 2010, 2013. That's when Rust and Go got really popular. Like, oh shit, we need strict types. And so everything became compiled at that point. And that's why Go continues to win the middleware race, because it's faster to iterate through development and changing new things because it's Python-esque, even though it's compiled and got strict types and everything. It's why Rust will never, ever, ever displace Go in the middleware. Never. No, God, no. Fuck no. Can you imagine? Oh, God, I don't even want to imagine. It's terrifying to think about. Use gRPC Bloom on your Mac test, I believe. So it's just regenerating the server stuff. It has a CLI. How would you know which is a better approach? That's what I'm saying. That's why I said at the beginning of the Sing LBG, which you may not have heard, that I need to go through. I've done gRPC once 2 years ago, and we're doing it again. I know the process for using gRPC. I don't know what the testing procedures that are preferred for gRPC, and so that's probably worth me going through today. And then we can make a more intelligent decision about what's going to get used. gRPC has a CLI. Command line tool, so it's just regenerating the server stuff. What? How can you regenerate the server stuff without the clients knowing the protobuf? gRPC Bloom on my Mac, I test, I believe. Okay. All right, let's go look. I don't know about that. Are you telling me the CLI is able to... Well, let's go look at it. Let's go look at it. I actually have that already here. Yep. gRPC... Wait, gRPC has a command? Looks like it does. But it's been discontinued. Of course it has. gRPC apparently has a command line tool. So that would be your curl replacement. So let's look at that for a second. I want to look at some of this stuff before I make a decision. You just need the profile. That means it's dynamically building it internally every time you run it. It has to, right? So it's that you have to provide it the IDL, right? I mean, if that exists, then I'm going to be very happy. So gRPC. Oops. RPC. Yeah, it just uses that protofile, which is sort of equivalent to like a JSON schema in a client or something like that. If curl was smart enough to know about that. Like if you could imagine having curl and us being able to pass it a JSON schema for a targeted REST API, then it would know, the tool itself would know how to talk to the thing to get it, right? As opposed to just getting it no matter what. I mean, that could be considered an advantage actually, because I don't know. We'll check it. gRPC. Hey, build config.ruby. Setup.py. gRPC pod spec. What the fuck? What the hell is this? This is a Ruby tool. You fucking kidding me? This is totally Ruby. Oh my god. If that's the best they have, I am very, very skeptical. Seriously. gRPC. gRPC is a modern open source high performance remote procedure call framework. Got it. Join the chat. Started. Standard method for doing everything. This is. Oh, this isn't my gRPC. Wait, what the fuck? What did I clone? What the hell did I clone? No. Oh, we have to build the CLI? No, I'm trying to get the repo that page you sent me is in. I don't want to go clicking on graphic links. What did I clone? Oh, I see what I did. Well, let's try again. I must have been in a CD. Maybe my CD went into the wrong thing. GH repo clone. It might be my CD path messed up. gRPC. It was there in the blog folder. What I want to know is why this is in Ruby. If the gRPC project is primarily a Ruby project, I'm out of here. I'm not using it. I don't give a shit. I'm not doing that. I would rather use CRUD than Ruby. So I'll answer your question during the break. Hopefully. Make sure I'm in the right place. Okay. Okay, that's still a gem file. All right. Which MD? Am I reading the wrong thing? No, that's it. There's a lot of Ruby in here. That's what I want to find out. I want to see why there's Ruby in here. Contributors are welcome. This is what I don't understand. Oh, I know why. Because it's a localized README file. Oh, phew. I saw the RWX Robin and I was like, what the hell? This is something because of the Glow. We just installed Glow to do Markdown reading yesterday. I wasn't aware that it was going to resolve localized paths like that. It's kind of cool, actually. Yep. Languages, Ruby. Okay. All right, so yeah, let's go into the doc stuff. I can't see anywhere. Let's actually answer a question. We were trying to decide which is the one you want. Command line tool. This document describes command line tool. Have command line tools in the languages. Send your gRPC. Attach metadata, receive metadata. Command authentication, nice. Common authentication to the server. I wonder what one they... Basic over TLS. Find a request response types from proto. Read proto request in text form. Command line tools should support two things. List servers. The services and methods for server reflection. Yes, please. Does it have server reflection? Is server reflection built into protobuf servers automatically? Fuck yeah. I mean, that is a huge plus. Put plus 10 points in the gRPC section. Fine grained auth control. So OAuth tokens to talk to the server. Also a plus. Streaming RPC, which, yeah. See, streaming RPC is something that I'm not going to be using, but it's nice to have the option because I could keep the connection open if I really wanted to. That's why RPC is used for anything like streaming, like actual streaming, like data streaming, like, you know, video and stuff like that between services. Otherwise, why, you know? I mean, it must be. There's a million things. There's like Python. It's like the organization of the core repository for that gRPC thing is like a disaster. I just not happy. They're still using master. I mean, there's a million of tiny little indicators that the project team's got their head up their ass. But that's fine. You know, I can get past that. They've got other things to work on. Here's the tool you need to get to the gRPC repository and make sure your system has the prerequisites for building gRPC source. Give it in installation instructions. In order to build the command line from a fresh repo, you need to blah. Are you fucking kidding me? They're using submodules? You fucking idiots. Oh my God. People, don't use Git submodules. Just say no. Just say no to Git submodules. There is no valid reason to use a Git submodule on planet Earth. Oh my God. Once the prerequisites are satisfied, you can build with CMake. Of course, it's CMake and not just make. And of course, it's written in C and not Go. Oh, it's C++ on top of the rest of that. No, fuck no. I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want anything to do with this clusterfuck of a disaster of a tool. Okay, huge on the curl replacement. I mean, somebody should make something that's not shit. This is absolute bullshit. The fact that you can't install a command line tool for querying gRPC using apt-get install is reason enough to dismiss it as being over-engineered bullshit. And that's a huge negative against gRPC. So oh yeah, you should just know how to build this because you're an RPC person. You know what? No. Oh, you don't know how to compile C++ code? Sucks to be you. Guess you can't use our tool. Maybe you should use REST with CRUD and curl. But just remember how stupid you are. I fucking hate over-engineering every time I encounter it. I hate it. What are you talking about? It was last week's video. God. It was last week's beginner boost video. Go look at that. I am in a grumpy mood. I'm just warning everybody. This should not be that hard. This should not be that hard. If you don't know where the Vim stuff is, always just bookmark skillstack.io. Right? And here's the beginner boost. And then every single thing that ever happens, you can go there and read about it. Okay? skilstak.io. I probably should take a break after this. Details of the CLI ls command. We can use gRPC command to inspect response. Call a remote method. We send RPC to a server, get response, call command. I mean, I like they put an underscore in their command line tool. Are you fucking kidding me? What kind of fucking morons are these people? Oh my God, I have to take a break. Let's try this again. I'm just going to look through the code and see if it's worth looking at any further. I doubt it is, but I want to get ideas. We could probably make it. Yeah, it is a rough stream. Uh, oh God. Awesome gRPC tools has a bunch of gRPC clips, including gRPC curl. Ooh. Then I have to make one. Don't get mad, get busy, right? I was gonna look at the C code to see if we can make one quickly. It's not that hard. It just has to be able to read the thing and compile dynamically, right? How hard would that be? I don't want to make it. I don't want to look at this project anymore. It just makes me angry. So I'm not impressed by the gRPC team. Where are the maintainers? What companies do they work for? Can we tell from their emails? Can we tell from their emails? Governance, gRPC community. Oh, Google. That doesn't surprise me one fucking bit. You know, I have overwhelming evidence that on the whole, Google engineering is shit. Like, if you look deep into the stuff at Google, I have, for the last probably 5 to 10 years, I have been looking at stuff that's come out of Google. You know, code that's actually come out that's been released by Google engineers, including the Kubernetes code base. And I mean, I could, the Google groups that died, the Google, vision that died. Google is really good at, God, what was the one? Flutter? Not Flutter. Was it Flutter? They're just Google. Google is famous for like over engineering useless shit. And they don't care because they've got that one search engine thing that they just keep leaning on. And but they are the the epitome of over engineered shit. And eventually it dies under its own weight. And so look at it. It's all Google. That entire project is done by a bunch of absolutely brilliant, amazing human beings who have no idea what simple means. They over engineer all their shit. And I don't appreciate over engineered shit. I can do it. I've written it. I mean, come on. Somebody actually thought that was a good GitHub name. They just have no fucking practical sense. They have no artistic sensibility when it comes to coding. They're not a TJ Hollowaychuk. They're not whoever made God, what was that tool we were looking at? It's just absolutely gorgeous. Go Releaser. The engineer behind Go Releaser, absolute brilliant artist. They're a bunch of super smart, overpaid, shitty engineers who make crap that nobody wants to use and don't understand simplicity. And I know because I work with these people. I have worked with these people my entire life, like one-on-one with a lot of these people. This is why I don't want to be a software engineer, because I'd have to rub shoulders with people who think 85 character names with mixed case and underscores is a good fucking idea. You don't believe me? Go look at the kubectl source. Because they don't. Oh, who cares? I mean, I got blah 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 blah. They don't. They're just not artists. They're not artists. They're smart over. They're smart idiots. Okay, I got it. Stop. All Google. Not a surprise there at all. Not a surprise there at all. A bunch of Google engineers. Yep. Yep. And I hate to say it, but I'm not going to say it. Just read the names. You can make your own decisions. Oh my God. What is it about smart people not making good things? What is it about them being so fucking idiotic with their design sense? I've dealt with these people. I had these people admit. Anyway, I'm done. I got to stop talking about it. A nice mountain bike. Nice. Google Palmer fucked us over for my job. Yeah. Is written in Go? Yeah. Why is it? Look, let's find something written in Go, LBG. Somebody's got a fun name too. I mean, I look. This is like so not important, but I still want to do it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, yeah. I don't know. I'm now looking at the engineers behind the gRPC project. I actually almost don't want to use gRPC at all. In fact, gRPC protobuf has been replaced. The guy who made original gRPC made a simplified version, and that's what they use instead now. You guys ever hear about that? As a replacement to protobuf. Awesome gRPC shared by Damage. Which one do you want? No, it's not. Fuchsia. Fuchsia is the complete disaster that Google made. It's added to the list. I'm just 100%. Google engineering is shit. I mean, I shit. You know what? Go read anything from HashiCorp. If you really want to get a sense of this, waste your time studying open source projects from Google, and then study open source projects from HashiCorp, and look at the source code, and you will see the difference. There's like a radical difference. The thing that's so funny is that Google goes to such great lengths to hire great engineers, and they end up producing over-engineered shit from people who pass a bunch of whiteboard interviews. If you needed any more evidence that Google has no fucking idea how to hire good people, there it is. Because they've hired a bunch of asshole engineers who don't know how to make art. They make shit. So, there you go. And Pike is not one of those people. Nope. Pike understands simplicity. He's old enough from the old Bell Labs times. If he had made any of these over-engineered mistakes, it happened at Bell Labs. It happened way before he made it to Google. Anyway, gRPC ecosystem, awesome gRPC tools. Let's go look at that. Let's look at that first. GH, stop complaining, Rob. GH, make directory. Must be jammed for the weekend. gRPC ecosystem. GH repo clone Klein. I can't even fucking type. I should have just done this whole thing in the first place. / tell you the truth, I want to get as far away from Kubernetes as possible as soon as I can. I'm now starting to make some career goals for myself, and within 5 years, I don't want anything to do with Kubernetes. I know there's going to be work in it and stuff, but I want to be as far the fuck away from it as possible, because that entire ecosystem is going to implode on itself. It's such shit. And it's going to implode on itself. It's already starting to. And people like Kelsey Hightower and others are starting to refer to this not being the sustainable long-term solution that they were thinking. And somebody else has gone on record as saying, if we don't have something new within 10 years, God help us all, things like that. I don't want anywhere near it. And you know why? Because Google was involved. Why would you build your entire enterprise dependency on over-engineered shit from Google? You can't make that argument for Go, because Pike is not Google. Pike is not Google. He happens to get paid by them, but he's not Google. Kubernetes is Google. Kubernetes is literally Borg, their internal infrastructure system, and it's so fucking bad. And it's just going to continue to implode. And so I don't want anything to do with it. The Go team, since Pike left over control of Go's made some idiotic decisions that have been made by mostly Google engineers. And I rest my case. Google engineers are shit. They're absolute shit engineers. Every time I run into a Google engineer who makes a shitty design decision, and the rest of us suffer for it, but they get to push it through because they're a Google engineer. I'm just tired of it. I don't want anything to do with Google. I don't want anything to do with their company. I don't want to use any technology from them. I'll use Go because I love Go because it comes from Rob Pike. as long as they don't fucking destroy it. For example, what got added to Google? What got added to Go after Pike stopped like keeping a thumb on everything? What got added? The shitty module system that people make fun of on the Go Time podcast, literally. But I use Kubernetes. I have to use Kubernetes. It's not a matter of using Kubernetes or not using it. It pays the bills. Yep. Naked returns. I don't know about that right now. I need to talk about that during my break or something. Right now, I'm having kind of a moment. Let's go look at awesome GH. Look, I love the GH tool. I like the GitHub tool. You know, I gotta just say something about GitHub for a second. Okay, GitHub is not Google. The stuff that comes out of GitHub, you can argue all you want, but I gotta tell you, on the whole, the technology that comes out of GitHub is well designed. It's more artistic. It has more artistic value, such as something as simple as the GitHub command line tool. There's a sense of like user interaction and clueness to their designs that turns GitHub. I mean, certainly they make mistakes, but compared to Google, Google makes mistake after mistake, and they're so well funded that they can recover from every time. And then we get stuck with it until they pull the plug, which they have done many, many times. So, you know, did they make a README with lowercase README without uppercase README? Fucking idiot. How stupid is that? People. Oh, this is Sid. Holy shit! I am not looking at this. This is from Sydney. Sindri. There's no. Sindri is one of the dumbest engineers on the planet. He's also one of the most prolific. This asshole has put out so many things in the Node community. I do not like this engineer. Ever since he decided to produce his stupid shock thing and not take into account actual terminals that use transparency properly and said, fuck you, we don't care. And I had an interaction. I opened a ticket on him. He goes, oh, well, sucks to be you. Yeah, I'm not using anything from this. I'm not using anything from this engineer. No, remember I told you like finding good engineers and shitty engineers? Sindri Sorhus epitomizes the engineers who put a bunch of shit out there, get everybody to adopt it as much as they can, pump up their stars and likes and everything, making themselves look really good, and then walk away. Because now they got their notoriety and everything, even though the stuff they make is shit. It's the JavaScript community. Why would I use a Node.js tool, a command line tool from running a Node? Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Yeah, no way, man. Nope. You say it's in the list from, so he maintains the list. The tool is not from him. This is him making a list of tools. All right. Well, let's dismiss the person who made it for a second and actually look at the stuff that's here. And you're gonna be like, oh, you don't like anybody. You know what? Fuck you. You know, there's a lot of people who know me, and they know that when I see good engineering and good engineers, I say I am just as passionate about saying so. But when I run into shitty engineers, and I have it and I can tell you my experience as to why, I have no problem telling you that. And I'm sure there's plenty of people to tell you that I'm a shitty, you know, self-important noob when it comes to this stuff, and they're not wrong. But, you know, I'll let you make the decisions. Let me see. Who do you recommend to follow that GitHub that's good for cooking? I already talked about that a lot. Anything from TJ Holloway, Chuck. Anything from Ben the Elder. Anything from the guy who made Go Releaser. Anything from Rob Pike himself. Not the Go team. The Go team has done a bunch of bullshit, like adding context to forcing it on everybody. gRPC master, status codes. All right, so you said that there's Oh, yeah, right. The charm bracelet guys, absolutely. The charm bracelet guys or gals or whoever's over there. Charm bracelet for sure. People who that's the glamour team actually. Charm bracelet and the glamour team, yeah. Uh, the Kissed by Angels. I know because they actually give a shit. They're not just overly intelligent people. They're people who actually have a design sense. You don't just look. You know what? Let's pause here. Maybe I can finally dismiss this point. It's not enough to be smart. It's not enough to be able to type really fast. It's not enough to have a PhD. It's not enough to pass a whiteboard interview. You have to have an artistic design sense to be a technologist, a good one. And if all of the good ones, what do they have in common? They also are artists on the side. TJ Hollowaychuk, the guy who made Express and Stylus and a million other things, the E and Mean stack. He's by trade, he's a photographer. He's a self-taught technologist, but he's mostly creative. The glamour people, the people from Charm Bracelet, mostly creatives who happen to make code, right? The problem is we get these ultra, left and right brain is a myth, but we get these ultra, engineering type of people who have no fucking design sense at all, and most of them don't speak English. So what you end up getting, and the reason that I'm so obsessed is because I am primarily a liberal arts person. I always have been. I'm a polyglot, I do all that stuff. I'm not an artist, but I've done design and architecture and sound engineering and stuff. So my brain works in that particular case. I care about naming and shit like that because I like to write and things. But so it takes me really long to do anything because I'm sitting there with my paintbrush going, okay, that doesn't quite look right yet. As opposed to somebody else who just, paints a cat and hands it off to you because it's a cat. It works. That is what these engineers are. The difference between them is every once in a while you'll encounter an artist, and when you encounter an artist, you're like, oh my God, it's like this is absolutely brilliant. It's beautiful and brilliant, and you just bow down to them. And that I think we need to start looking at our careers as artists, and we need to take that level of pride in our work. And if that slows everything down, so be it. I would rather have it be slowed down and good and well designed than to have it rushed out, with 85 character names. I mean, whatever. That's all. The art type of software engineers are exceptions, so maybe you're wrong in the field. That's how many times have I said I don't consider myself a software engineer? I fucking hate coding. The only reason I write code is because I want something out of it. Right? But to say that artistic people shouldn't be in engineering and 80 character names is totally fine is absolute bullshit. And whenever I have to be exposed to it, I'm reminded why I don't want to work with these assholes. I don't. If you think that is fine, get the fuck out of my room. I don't want anything to do with you. If you are okay sleeping at night, publishing shit to the internet that has 85 character identifiers in it and stuff like that, I don't want anything to do with you. If you're going to release something really early so you can get early seed capital and walk away like Isaac Schuler, I don't want to fucking have anything to do with you. If you want to get a whole bunch of seed capital and then keep telling people you're going to finally release something like Oxide Computing and keep pushing out the deadline and finally removing it from your website altogether because you don't want to promise anybody that you're going to have a product anytime soon. You're still running off seed capital, Series B now, with no products to show. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't. And if that's the industry, I don't want anything to do with that industry. All right. Yeah, you came here not for the rents, I know. I do like Brian, but I've lost all respect for Brian. I've lost all respect for him. He took a bunch of money and now he's just sitting on it, like not producing any value at all. Because somebody told him, literally, go read his story. Brian said, somebody tweeted, I'll fund anything Brian does. Brian took him up on it, got all the money, hired Jess Frazzle out of Microsoft, brought in a whole bunch of self-important engineers, made a podcast for a year and a half, but no products for now 2 years, and they still have nothing to show for it. So I'm done liking him because he's just playing to Silicon Valley. And then I read the whole shit that he did with the IO.js and the Node.js fracturing and all that shit that went down at Joyent, which was largely his fault, by the way. And I'm like losing respect for him completely because he's funny, he's great to listen to and stuff, but he's 100% Silicon Valley. Uh, when 2 days they finally shipped a rack. They finally shipped a rack with something on it. I do like Brian. I want to like Brian. I really do. You know who I like better than all of them? Ryan Dahl. Ryan Dahl, the guy who made Node. He's one of my favorite of all. The art types of exceptions, so maybe you're wrong to field. Yeah, probably. Oxide shipped a rack. What he's trying to do takes time, especially to design. Yeah, I know. I mean, all the criticism I've been saying, because Brian is an artist, so maybe we should give him credit. I have no doubt saying that Brian is 100% an artist. When he finally releases something, it's probably going to be really fucking awesome because he cares about the artistic part of it. The guy reads old, esoteric languages in his spare time. So maybe we just need to give him a little bit more time before we throw him under the bus. But right now, I don't know. He also had the courage to say that Rust is not the best language for the kernel. Yeah, he said it. There's a video of him saying so. So I'm on the fence with Brian, but he's largely playing the Silicon Valley game, so he's kind of fallen out of favor with me because, especially when they started deleting promised delivery dates off their website. I mean, come on. I mean that was really low. That was like, yeah. Oh, you found a release link. All right, I got to read this right now. None of these people are ever. I'm just burning all my bridges with any of these people. They don't give a shit about me. That's fine. I don't really care. I'm old. I'm going to die in 40 years. Hey, look, they're finally shipping a rack. I wonder if they actually watched me complaining about them not shipping anything. We're over on Chris's server, Hackaderm. Yeah, this is another thing. People won't chime in on my stream anymore. I don't even see Tony Fa and Chris anymore because I'm so opinionated. Like, he just gets no shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about. That's fine. That's fine. I don't need them. Actually, computing plastic wrap's really important. All the tropical fish we put in there are unhappy. I never created that. What's the plastic fish? Blah, blah, blah. Correct to the team. You finally have a customer. Remember to put the rubber chicken aside. We can't. For all we know, it's a marketing ploy. No one's ever going to see one running. No, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I want to see it actually running. I want to see a demo of it. I want to see an official demo of an Oxide rack in the wild being used by someone to do something before everybody just brags about they finally got one shipped. Yeah. The first Oxide rack being prepared for customer shipment. You know that they've had pressure on them because they've pushed back their delivery date so many times. Yep. It's happening. I can't wait. Oh, great. Mini home lab version, right? No. This doesn't mean anything. They have not had any racks officially in use ever by anyone. So we don't even know if the fucking thing works yet. It's like getting excited about a bike before anybody even rides the fucking thing. No. The NSA. Who's our first customer? The NSA. The NSA would never go for them. That's not their target audience. Ops for decades, earning a mere $3 an hour as a consultant. Yeah. The compensation, and there's many, many awesome things about Oxide that I have said over the years. Over the last 2 years, I've said many awesome things about them, and I wish them the best. I sincerely do. But this is not confirmation that they're actually good. Not yet. Not yet. This is cool. The whole compensation thing's all great as long as they can actually have a business that produces products. I mean, how long have they been running with seed capital? How long has it been? It's been more than 2 years. So they've been working for 2 years to even have a product at all, which is not unusual for really high-end companies to making brand new things. But still, this is where the fun begins. We don't even know what this is. This is moving. Oh, these people are such fanboys. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know what to say. You haven't even fucking seen the thing yet. Why don't you actually save your fanboy cocksucking until you actually see the product? I'm not that person, obviously. I will be their number one fan in line if they actually produce something of value, but I don't have any proof that that's true yet. So, whatever. Principals kick butt. I know. They're very notey. The whole company's very notey. They are. But again, that doesn't, whatever. They're very smart. They're really brilliant. But, and I'm hoping against all hope that, you know, that Brian's artistic sense will rule the day. I think it will. But anyway, um, an awesome gRPC list maintained by Sydney, who doesn't know how to use capital README files. That says everything you need to know about him. That says everything you need to know about this dude. The entire fucking world has established the standard of using an all caps README file with lowercase.md. And what does he do? He makes a lowercase readme.md file. Seriously, if there's one single thing that conveys this person to you, that's it. That's exactly everything. It says everything about him. It says everything about him. He's like, he doesn't give a shit about what other people are doing. He's like, I'm going to change it. I'm going to do this other thing, and it's not going to work. It's going to be incompatible. I don't give a shit. Yeah, whatever. So I'm going to make gRPC. I'm going to follow the tutorial. I'm going to make my own client. I'm going to make a shitty client that just dumps JSON, which I can do using my own modules, and I'll be done with it. Because that's what most people would do. They're not going to use somebody else's shitty tool. They're gonna probably just do that. And it's not even that hard because you're already just doing a query and you just have to dump the query. So I assume that that's what most people are doing. I complained about it, but it's definitely better than filtering through a bunch of shit other people have made. Try gRPC curl on its written and go. Should I try that one? Do you like that one? Should we try? I mean, because it's written and go already, I like it. We were in 7th grade and putting DVDs in the DVD player. Oh, he's just trying to be retro. Okay. It's Friday. It's Friday. Can I be happy again? I want to be happy again. I don't want to talk shit. I hate talking. I do it all the time. You think I would like it. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I just can't not do it for some reason. Anyway, so what are we looking at? What was the repo for that? For the Go one, gRPC curl? I want to find that. That's exactly what I want. Full story dev, which I gotta love that name already. Full story dev is like someone making fun of full stack dev. I can get behind that. Yeah, I can get behind that. Make directory. I like the name already. Story dev. gRPC. And what a great name. gRPC curl, because that's exactly what you want. You want a gRPC URL. A gRP curl. Oh, see what they did there? These kind of things, this is, we make jokes about having a good logo for a project before people will like it, and the reason is not unsound. Oh, look, they did a README like is expected instead of like thumbing their nose at 45 years of convention. So gRPC curl is a command line tool that lets you interact with gRPC servers. It's basically code for gRPC servers. I like it already. And the main purpose for this tool is to invoke. Hey, look, I get to say something positive. Thank you for finding this, damn it, Dutch. The main purpose of this tool is to invoke RPC methods to gRPC server and command line. gRPC server uses binary encoding to wire protobuf. Yeah, okay. Protobufs, so they are basically impossible to interact with using curl. That's what I've been saying. And curl does not support HTTP2 yet. This program accepts messages using JSON encoding. What? Which is much more friendly for both humans and scripts. Oh man, this is great. If this thing translates a protobuf gRPC query into JSON, I'm going to be in love. I'm going to send them a personal love letter, and then I'm going to kiss them on the mouth at a conference. With this tool, you can also browse the schema for gRPC services. Oh my God. This is good. Server reflection, hell yes. More, please. Damn. In fact, the way the tool transforms JSON request data into a binary encoded protobuf by using the very same schema, I may have just got sexually excited. So, if the server you interact with does not support reflection, you will either need the proto source files that define the service, or need the proto set files for that gRPC can use. Holy cow! And the repos also provides a package. What? You can embed it into your own tools on top of everything else? Oh my God! They built a high level API so you can write your own tools that call into it. What the hell? Okay, we just have to look at the code. Please don't disappoint me. The construction, the code is a great example of how to use various packages for proto reflect. Yes, more of that, please. Also see the gRPC curl talk at GopherCon 2018. So this has been around for a while. It's been around since 2018. Here I am complaining. I'm gRPC noob. I'm not even a software engineer. Don't call me a software engineer. I refuse. gRPC curl supports all kinds of gRPC. I'm a guy who writes code because I want something. There. Including streaming methods. You can even operate bidirectional streaming methods interactively by running gRPC curl from an interactive terminal using std to request body. What? gRPC curl. This person is ShamWowing me. gRPC. That's what my wife says. I ShamWow everything. gRPC curl. gRP curl. I'm just gonna say gRPC curl. You found it on that. Look, I don't care. So Sydney knows about something that's cool. Awesome. I don't give a shit how I found. Okay, thank you, Sydney, for, maintaining a page that has a bunch of shit mixed with a couple good things in it. That's why I don't do awesome things, because people submit PRs and put random things on the awesome list and they get accepted and they're not awesome at all. Just go look at the awesome Go list that's maintained. It's the #1 in stars out there. It's full of shit. Absolute bullshit. gRPC curl supports both TLS servers and plain text servers. Damn. And has numerous options for TLS configuration. Also supports manual TLS. As mentioned above, gRPC curl works seamlessly if the server supports reflection service, which I would like. If not, you can supply the proto source file. You can either use reflection or the proto source file. It doesn't even have to have the proto source file. So stinking cool. ALBG found it? Okay, fine. Whoever get credit. Thank you for finding it. Download the binary from the release. So we can just get the release ourselves if we want to. Otherwise, we do a go install. Of course, their first thing is homebrew. Why is it that all the best codes comes from people who use Mac? People who use Linux on their desktop make shitty code. They do. I can't believe that's true. I don't want that to be true. It just is true. There's something. I'm sure it was a team member. Yeah, but there's something about people whose go-to development system is Mac that makes them into good designers and good coders, and that includes Pike. Pike uses a Mac. So, look, I hate Apple, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, so you can either use Homebrew or Docker. If you want to use anything else, fuck you. I'm sure it's here. Other packages. Here we go. I mean, you learn a lot about the person who's behind a project, we'll say, by reading the README. You really do, and that's good because sometimes you want to assess their, biases, whether they're, technological or artistic. There are a number of other ways to. My favorite is TJ Hollowaychuk, who, and is it Koa? He writes, he's like, why on earth would you want a static site generator? That's completely stupid because you could just use Go templates that already do the same thing. And you're reading and you're going, huh. He doesn't say it that way, but that's the tone. And then he's like, so here's a library for making it easier to use Go templates, which are already there, instead of this big bloated Hugo shit. You can see more details on the full list of packages from gRPC curl at repology. From source. If you already have the Go SDK installed, you can just use Go. That's what we'll be doing. Oh, look, he even put it under a CMD. What a good boy. I don't know if he's a boy. I assume so. Horrible for me to do. I don't know their pronouns. I am so sorry. On that point, I am legitimately sorry that I don't know their pronouns. I very much am. We're going to install it. I'm not even going to look at... Actually, if I could look at the source. I could look at the source. We already downloaded it. Please don't gender people in 2023. Should I just say they for everything then? I hate that. I hate referring to every single person, individual, as a plural pronoun. It fucking drives me nuts. And I said so before. I'm not against people using pronouns, but I'm against screwing up language. I'm a polyglot. I speak multiple languages. I actually care about linguistics. And we lost a wonderful opportunity to improve languages everywhere by introducing new language elements as opposed to reusing old broken elements, like to using they to refer to things that we don't know what the hell they are. I don't like that. There, I said it. I was reading an article yesterday on Medium. It claimed you should put your Go code in an SRC folder. Yeah, no. You can do that if it depends on the type of project it is. It depends on the type of project. If the thing you're building is completely self-contained and has no dependencies, is never going to be imported by anybody, then putting it under SRC makes total sense. If not, then God, I already love this. Look, there's an internal at the top level. Shit, this is some good code here, people. Unnecessary makefile. Let's see. Let's see if it's unnecessary. If it has mostly phony stuff, it's unnecessary. Yep. Should have been a shell program. That's a typical mistake that everybody makes. This is 100% bullshit, but whatever. They're using Go Releaser. All right, that's good. Seriously, if you might as well just use fucking functions and write a shell code. Then you wouldn't have to make it. I am not gonna say anything more about that. The only actual makefile rule that matters here is this, and it's just, if the makefile has changed or the download protoc has changed, then go ahead and run this. Redeem no cursing. Okay. Pre-declared. This is such bullpucky. This is bullpucky. Why? Do I need to make my case here? Okay, I'm just going to say it. Say it again. Read through this entire makefile and tell me why it's not a shell script. One reason. Give me one reason this is not a shell script. Just one. Right? Every single dependency here, this is using makefile, did this thing change? To create phony rules. So this is just a way of calling a bunch of subroutines next to each other. That's all this is. It's just a way to group together a bunch of subroutines. It could have been more clearly put as a subroutine. This is, evidence entry number one for why makefiles are crap for 90% of the projects out there. They're crap. This is just a convoluted shell script. Every single thing is a phony. If your entire makefile is a phony, you're a phony. You can clip that. Oh my God. People think this because they think they're doing the right thing. I'm like, why would you complicate this? By the way, not to mention that every single one of these lines is a separate subshell. You know that, right? If you did it in Bash or something, it wouldn't be a subshell. Some of them would be, but most of them wouldn't. Every single line invokes a subshell. Every single line. It's totally stupid. It's totally stupid. And people do it all the time. All right, that's a big negative, but whatever. Docker file. Somebody's building a machine to build a thing. That looks pretty decent. That's fine. I don't call it Dockerfile anymore. These days I call it container file. Dockerfile works with Podman and Docker, so some people would probably put a Dockerfile. I checked the shellcode really quick. -E, good for you. EB bash, whatever. Double brackets in bash. I'm impressed. Most people don't do that. They should. It's much safer. Why would you then use single brackets down here? Why would you use double brackets up here and then single brackets down here? Just so you can use the very, very confusing equal operator from POSIX shell? What's negative about the makefile? I'm going to say it again. Why is it a makefile, not a shell script? That's a legitimate question. Can you answer that question for me? Read this entire file. Tell me one reason that it couldn't be done as a shell script. Just one. The entire thing is safer, easier to maintain, and has more sustainability by making it a shell script. You should have, instead of putting a makefile, you should have called it build and then had a single shell script. For some reason, there's this obsession with making makefiles. So you force all your project team to learn make just to run a thing that builds a thing that's a bunch of subroutines. They want autocomplete and don't know about complete-c. That might be a reason. That might be a reason. Okay. Yeah. I think Super Torpedo, I think you're onto something there. I think you're onto something there. Yeah. I think you're onto something. I think you may have actually nailed it. I'm going to write that in my set. Thank you for saying that. I think that's it. I think that's the reason. I think why PHONY why the epidemic, how about this? Could the epidemic of PHONY, did I spell it right? Of PHONY Makefiles simply be tab completion? Simple Super Torpedo suggested that the reason for I'm going to actually include that file. Yeah. Oh, is it without the E? Thank you. And the reason for make unnecessary makefiles that could more sustainably, safely, and easily be written as shell scripts are so prevalent. Make tab completes the different things that are going to run. The different possibilities. For people who don't know about complete-c. I could almost be convinced that is enough reason if the project may someday have something that actually warrants the use of make. Build dependency, build chain dependencies like with C, dynamically linked libraries which is why make was created. So like if you have a project and you may actually at some point have, I changed this file, I need to make this other thing. I could see doing that. Vim has support for make. I would never do that. No. God, no. Vim, it's not just Vim. Look, build, same thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Build. No, it's that. I don't buy that at all. The completion, though, is a strong reason to do it. I could really get behind that. Is the Z thing good? I've been using it for a while. Z thing is the thing I made to take notes. You can read about it and follow it. It's not really production, but the release version. Lots of people are using it right now. So, here's a sample of what I mean by unnecessary. So, there we go. Go ahead and save my readmes. All right. So, again, all my Z's available. Just do !Z. You can click on the link. You can go read all my notes. It's got. I need to work more on it. It doesn't get published out to a website. It's not search indexed or anything, but it is. The latest stuff gets put in there. That's sort of a mental mind dump, and then I put that into articles at some point later. Super Torpedo, I've got to thank you. I think you finally. I think that that is it. I think that is the primary motivator. Yep, I think that is. As to what's negative about a Makefile versus a shell script, I really don't want to have to talk about that. Let's start by a completely foreign syntax that encapsulates shell scripts and makes them even more confusing. Because a Makefile ultimately is a shell script inside. It's a bunch of little teeny tiny shell scripts that have additional syntax. Like, so you can use an @ sign. You have to have 2 @ signs and all this stuff because it's no longer a shell. It's now shell inside a Makefile. So the level of complexity is orders of magnitude more difficult, not to mention it's inefficient. And so there's really no reason to use make officially unless you actually have make dependencies. Like you have, I want to build this thing to build this other thing. That's what it's for. That's what the tool is designed to do. To maintain groups of programs. Maintain automatically write features of program that need to be recompiled. Commands to recompile them. The manual describes it has the built-in stuff. Blah 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 blah. Our examples show C programs since they're very common, but you can use make with any programming language, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah. I mean, if no other reason, you're forcing your developers to learn another language when they should already know shell. Is that another one for building? Debugging Makefile 1, and the error was just one dangling space character. That's what I'm trying to tell you. For almost an hour because it cared about spaces. This one, I'm glad you said that because the other day we were doing Vim and I was showing syntax highlighting, and where was I? I was showing syntax highlighting someplace, and I was saying, "Hey, you actually care about dangling stuff on the end, right?" And I was trying to remember cases where that mattered. Configuration files is one of those cases. Dangling spaces is one of those cases. So, so being able to put a space at the end and be able to visualize trailing spaces. Somebody said you should always remove them on save. That's not true because pandoc files uses double blank space as a heartbreak. So that would be bad. So unless you did it, per file type. So there you go. So that may or may not actually run, right? People are going to do what they want to do. At least this is a clean PHONY Makefile. That's my new name for them is PHONY Makefiles. I'll just call them what they are. They're PHONY Makefiles. They're not real Makefiles. They're PHONY Makefiles because they're filled with phony because they don't have any actual make rules in them. They're phony being they're using rules that should be used as dependency rules as subroutines and functions. And that is phony. Like literally phony. That's what they call it. Commits dangling spaces in a breaks your project. Does it all the time. Happens to me constantly. So that's yet another reason. By the way, this right here, this is a perfect example. This is a multi-line shell script that's been written on multiple lines, even though it has to be forced into being a single line, which means you got to put a semicolon at the end of a line that normally wouldn't have to have an ending, because this is technically this. It's another reason to write just a fucking shell script. Don't write, this is the actual line. If you want to write a bit of shell code, if you're going to write a shell function, then use a fucking shell function. I'm sorry for the swearing today. I just can't get it together. Don't do that. And they're like, oh, well, it's too hard to read like that. Okay, so I'll make this bastardized version of a single line command across multiple lines with unnecessary semicolons and backslashes that, God help you if you put an empty space after them, because they won't work. Why would you do that to your team? I don't understand. I don't understand why you would put your team through that. And if the reason is because you want to do make tab completion, that's not enough. It's not enough. Learn how to actually write shell code. I know. Okay, no cursing. I'll stop. You did. I know you both paid for no cursing. You both got scammed. Okay. All right. I will try harder. Not to mention the fact that significant profanity has to be called out as a separate stream type. Did you see that? That goes into effect in 2 days by Twitch. And I have several segments of significant profanity today. So I have to stop. Mike, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'll try better. I'll do better. Okay, can we actually do... Look, y'all are thinking like, he's not doing anything with gRPC. All he's doing is yelling about Makefiles. Because why? Because I'm doing an evaluation of a project that I want to build a dependency on. Look, if I'm going to go to my team and I'm going to say, I want to do OpenAPI, or I want to do gRPC for our SSH thing, and I'm going to say why. The dreaded why question. And if I don't have the ability that I should use make unless it absolutely makes sense. Yeah. Makefile, when used properly, has the advantage that you can only recompile required files. In shell, you'll require a lot of if-else. Well, damn it, Dutch, if that's the case, then that's the proper use of make. That's not a phony makefile. That's an actual makefile. I think that there's two main reasons that makefiles continue to be pop marks on the face of technology and software engineering. The one of them is the fear that eventually you'll have the need for a proper makefile, which means that you have something that has to be built based on a dependency on another thing. That's why make was made, particularly for C. Because C, there's like a bunch of link libraries and they all have to be built. And then once all those link libraries are built, if any of them have been updated, then you need to re-statically link a binary or whatever, right? So you have multiple layers of dependency. And that's why make was created. That's what make is fantastic for. It was designed for that. But that phony makefile that I just showed you doesn't have a single dependency rule in the entire file. But the people who do this, in their head, they're like, maybe someday I'm going to have one of these C-like dependencies. And I might as well start with a makefile right now, even though it's mostly phony, because someday I might have one of these. And so they justify, and plus everyone else is using Makefiles. So they do it because everyone's doing it, which is always a bad reason to do something. And secondly, they do it because they might one day have one of these interdependency links. And then the third reason is because they get tab completion. And their Vim session, :make, and they don't know about : build or whatever. Right? And they definitely don't want to write tab completion into their shell script because they would be forcing everybody to use bash. Because without bash, you have to write a full function just to do any kind of completion. And make has that built in. That's enough for a lot of people. It's almost enough for me. I got to tell you, I'm going to disclose this about myself. I used to default to Makefiles. For many, many years, I defaulted to writing Makefiles for everything. in Go and C, even in Node and Python and stuff. That was how I built everything. I would make sure there was a makefile. People knew to look at it. And then I started working with some teams and they're like, why are you always using makefiles here? We don't really need that. We just have a couple lines to run our build. Why don't we just make a function that does that? And they were right. And so, in fact, my team hates makefiles. My current team hates them. They will not allow them at all. They're like, no, we don't need it. Unless you have a dependency, don't use it. And they're not wrong. And so I was like, okay. And so, why would we force everyone on our team to learn make just so that they can build the project or maintain the build? And God help them if they get a space at the end, right? So you make your own decisions, but that's where I'm coming from. Most people don't need it everywhere, but it's everywhere. Yeah, it is. The reason to be makefiles, so this friends might help you. I'm not telling you what to do here. You do what you need, right? You make a decision based on your own decision. But I am super grateful to Super Torpedo for suggesting the tab thing, because I got to tell you, that almost convinced me all by itself, because that's amazing. I mean, seriously, being able to just run, first of all, make is lowercase. It's easy to type. I've been typing my whole life. I told you I used to be a defaulted to make. And by the way, which makefile syntax are you going to use? There's CMake, there's GNU Make, there's Make. I actually have 2 different O'Reilly books on 2 different make systems because the commands are so different and the languages for make are so different. So which language are you going to make your people learn? If you're doing C project, make is a default. You should automatically be using make. It's silly not to. And you can make the same argument for any compiled code, right? And now Go is kind of out there because there's no linking going on. I mean, there is, but it's all internal. Oh hell yeah! There's an entire book. I'll show you. There's I have both of them. You want to see? So here are 2 separate, very large books dedicated to make, depending on what one you use. And that doesn't even count iMake and CMake and a bunch of other makes. Right? And these are not thin books. They're thinner than most, but so again, if you're going to force your team to learn an entire build system and language that's fraught with peril, that was written by Richard Stallman in 1989, and cares about trailing white space, and forces all your shellcode to be one long line. I mean, if you're going to do that, just know what you're getting into. But I would be seriously tempted to do that just to make tab completion. I already am right now. I'm like looking at this going, oh, this is good. I like this. Because then I don't have to write, my own completion stuff. So it's not the same monkey. No, it's not. No, why would they have 2 books on it? I'm not going to go into all the differences. It's super annoying. And it's almost impossible to remember because I read both of the books. And so then when I go to write a makefile, I always have to go open the book or go to the research and say, oh, how do I write make again? Like what's the difference between $ greater than sign or $ less than sign, or what is the 2 @ signs, or how do I get the shellcode to run, or why isn't this standard input passing from here to there? I mean, there's like so many tiny little things, and learning shell by itself is already a task, right? Getting redirection, particularly bash and thing. So then you learn all that stuff, and then you're like, okay, and then you layer make on top of it, and it basically throws everything you knew out the window, turns all your shell into a single long line, and that it's overhead. It's overhead. It's cognitive overhead to your project, and I don't think you need it. It's here. What does this even mean, right? At Go. That just means you don't want to print out the output from that. What is the point of these books now when you have the internet? Well, to be fair, I bought these books in 1997, so. So there's that, you couldn't get that quality of information back then. You had a big wall of, pretty O'Reilly books in 1997. Yeah. So, and make, by the way, there's pretty much just one standard for make these days. The @ sign, by the way, just says, shut this line up. I don't want to print the output from this line. That's all that's doing. I mean, the reason I'm talking about this is because I've strongly considered adding make to the beginner boost as a requirement. And In fact, one of the reasons I dropped C from the overview and the beginner boost, we're going to do Go and Python and Bash, is because to learn C, you really need to learn Make. Strictly speaking, you don't have to, but you really should. And particularly if you're going to do any builds. In fact, the whole apt install thing, if you're going to be an operations person, you should know how to do generate, make, install, make, no, and generate, make, install, or whatever the steps are. If you've ever built the Gen 2, you know exactly what I'm talking about. 100 code mistakes. Yeah. Anyway, so let's actually do something besides complain about it. Otherwise, I think this is a great project. That is, I don't fault the person who made this for having a makefile, for a phony make, well, specifically a phony makefile. It's pretty common to have that. So they used the CMD correctly. They put that there. That's cool. They created a command. Whoa. What are they doing here? Can you have conditional Go compilation based on Go version? That is not documented anywhere. I know you can do that based on operating system. Oh my golly jeepers. Oh my golly jeepers. I just learned something. This is why I always read code. I have never seen that before. Oh, somebody's at our door. I gotta go. All right, we're back. They're changing the thermostat out. So we learned something here. We learned if you're obsessed with Z shell, no. Learn Bash first. Learn Bash. Bash is a standard Linux kernel. I mean shell. Kali Linux and Alpine use Z shell or some other thing, but that's it. That's all. I talk about that in the boost a lot. We're going to talk about that in the boost again when we do Bash, which is in 2 or 3 weeks. So the thing we discovered about this Go build is that you can actually put a directive that tells it not to build on a particular Go version. That may have already been in the Go build information, and I was unaware of it. But I find that really fascinating. So the name, the _10 name convention, doesn't seem to have anything to do with it. It's actually the build directive inside of the file that's telling the builder what to do. Whereas you can do _OS or whatever, and you can have, I think that's the same sort of situation. You'll see like _win _ whatever, right? And I'm pretty sure the naming convention of the files is just so you can organize it, not so much so it can do a thing, and you still have to have the build files. But it may be that the builder actually sees the extension, because I know _test, for example, it sees that. So that's why I was interested in it. That's all. It's compilation based on tag, yes. But like if let me see if I can give you an example. So if I have a terminal library. I have a terminal library that does different things on. Damn it. I have a terminal library that builds that just hard codes the terminal width that depend on Windows. I'm trying to remember where I put it. But I just want to give you an example. I'm trying to refresh myself as well. Is it terminal? I guess. Oh. I cannot type today. And so there we go. So we have this win size dummy, win size test. Yeah, okay. I was just reminding myself because the file name doesn't matter. It's the tag. So the tag tells it what version you want to have it built on and stuff. For a second, I thought maybe the file name had something to do with it, but it really doesn't. That's why this one says win size dummy. So obviously the name doesn't matter. It's the build tag in here. So on AXJS, NACL, Plan 9, Windows, Android, and Solaris, this is what the function becomes. On everything else, which is the inverse of that, this is what happens. So, and then this actually calls out to ioctl, which you would never do on Windows, obviously. So that's what's up with that. All right, back to what we were doing. I was just evaluating the code here to see if I want to use this. I ultimately want to do gRPC. The only suffix that matters is underscore Windows and Darwin. I think you can actually force those things to do something differently if there's a build tag involved. I think you can either use the build tags or you can use the file names. If I remember right, that would be a go generate thing, right? Is it a go generate thing? Go doc build. Go build dash h. Go help build. Did you find him? Build constraints. Build constraints. Yeah. Build constraints. Go build. In 1.12 and earlier, it's possible to distribute package in binary form. Package by package. Go binary only package. What does it say? Help. HDR build constraints. There we go. Go build. Particular build. Let's see. I'm trying to see if the file name by itself is enough. If a file's, there we go. If a file's name after stripping the extension possible underscore test suffix matches any of the following, then it will only be built. Okay, so it's an either or kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. So you can either use, like I did with dummy, which is multiple OSs combined, right? You can either use the build constraint inside of the comment, or you can use the file name thing. Yep. All right, good to know. I'm just refreshing my memory here. It's just for OS and Arch, right? Yep, but you can actually do OS and Arch in the build constraint with / if you want to use different file names. Hello. I'm done. Oh, okay. Take care. No problem. Do you want me to try to use it? Or what's that? I left instructions, but you want me to try to use it real fast? Oh, we got a new... All right, I'll be right back. We just had a Google Nest thermostat installed YouTube, in case you were wondering. And we're just wondering why our dishwasher doesn't work, our faucet doesn't work in our bathroom. And we're like, but yet they installed the latest and greatest Google Nest thermostat. And we concluded it's probably because they want to spy on their tenants. Otherwise, why would they spend so much money on that and nothing else? All the other basic things that need to be done in these apartments, and they spend it on a Google Nest thermostat, right? I don't know. Maybe, wait, do we pay for... No, we pay for our own electricity. So, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, back to gRPC. Speaking of Google. So, Golang protobuf JSON. All right, so I assume that's what this is doing. It's just like building a thing. I mean, this is enough for me to know about. So, it's funny. I wonder if I can do this. If this works, then I should be able to just do this. Yep. I should just be able to build it that way without dependencies and everything. Since I pulled the source code down already. Yeah, that's what I love about Go is you don't even need to use a makefile. Yep. gRPC curl. gRPC curl. I'm never gonna get that right. I'm gonna have to make it something else. Did they use Cobra? They didn't. Damn. I like him even more. They didn't use Cobra. They just used flags. Look at that. What? They used plain old flags. They used plain old Google flags. Yeah, look at all those flags. They're using. Nobody likes Golang decided, in their infinite wisdom, to just thumb their nose at 20 years of GetOpt standards by having long options that have a single dash in front of them. And they fundamentally made the flags library 100% incompatible with any GetOpt system of any over any time. I already installed it. I didn't need to do that because I already had the source code. I did exactly the same thing, just locally. Yeah.
Did you say he's leaving?
He's gone already.
Okay.
Yeah. Why the long dash format? I don't know. But they didn't even. I mean, now you can't even tell the difference between long and short. They just totally thumbed their nose at the whole thing, and that just gave more power to Cobra. And this gives you. This is a perfect example. You can't even tell. And God help you if you try to combine single letter switches with a single dash. Can't do it in Go. Not with this library. I wish people would just stop with switches in general. Yeah. I mean, it is. It's absolutely disgusting. I completely agree. I would rather Cobra and have it at least be POSIX compliant than that, right? I would either no dashes at all and just force everybody to speak like normal human beings from the command line and use, that's what Bonsai is, or to follow the POSIX standard. Do one or the other. Don't do this bastardized in the middle shit. Oh, whoops. I said I wasn't going to swear. The address is only optional with the list or describe. I mean, I know why they did that. They didn't want to create an extra dependency, but yeah, I don't want it because it will just rant all day. gRPC curl. I guess I don't really need to understand the internals of this. But now I'm motivated to make a gRPC thing. Let's go back to the tutorial and follow it, shall we? We're going to follow the tutorial for this. Major release go. We're going to do this. Let's see if we can do this in under 40 minutes. How about that? Under 40 minutes. Get any one of the latest versions. Go to getting started. Did that already. Protobuf. Got it. We got to get ProTalk, actually. And I don't know where to get it. Does this have how to install ProTalk? Can I just go install ProTalk? Download and install. Manage Go installation. Did it. That's not the one we want. No, we need to go grab one. Protobuf compiler installation. Do we have to? God. I have a feeling this is going to be an apt install kind of thing. Thank God. Yes, it is. It is. Thank God. Thank God for that. I was worried. I still think it's interesting that like people that don't use Linux, when you install something with a few commands from the command line, they're like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" Thoughts on systemd? Not right now. You said you didn't want me to go into a rant, and then you trigger me with systemd. No, we're not talking about that. I actually don't dislike systemd. Okay, we got that. It's in our bin. We did that. Protalk. Go install Protalk Gen Go gRPC. Install the protocol compiler plugins for Go using the following. The Go compiler plugins. Oh, okie dokie. I should have just gone to the end of the line there. That was dumb. I'm trying to find. I'm in the middle of writing one of these things is me editing. I don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. There it is. See, I already have it running. Okay. Anyway, that is gone. I want to keep that up because I want to take notes. I already have it, so we're good. I'm cleaning up. Just give me a sec. Glow. Why do we have Glow still open? Oh, that's in the examples. We can close that. We can go find that later if we have to. gRPC curl. We don't need that anymore. All right. So where are we doing this in? Oh, wait. We were in the... What project are we in? SSH project. Alrighty. So back to the tutorial. Yeah. We got to install this already. Did I cut and paste this already? I think I did already. I did, right? Run that. This is going to take forever. Hey, it didn't take forever. Okay. Next, export the path, get it in the bin. Make sure it can find your plugins. Go into your Go path bin. All right, that's already going to find them. What are the plugins called, by the way? Get the example code. We did that already. gRPC Go. We have this already. No. Oh, damn it. What the hell? Where'd it go? gRPC Go. Examples. And then what? Run the example. Go run greeter server. I mean, oh, hello world. Go run greeter server main. Okie dokie. Then what? Greeting, listening on whatever the hell. From different terminal, compile and execute the client code. Okie dokie. I need to update my stuff. Oh, client code. Go run greeter client. Hello world. Congratulations, you just did your first app. I didn't do anything. I just run the stuff you gave me. Update the services section. You'll update the application with the extra service method. It's using protobuf to learn more about how to define services in a proto file. I see basic tutorial. I'm a gRPC professional. There's no .proto file in here. So I protest. Yeah. I mean, that's not really a quick start. I understand what it is, and it's all good, but Hello World must be the protobuf. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there it is. There's a proto file. That's what I was looking for. All right, so is that a convention to put your protobuf definition in a separate package? I imagine it is. That makes sense. This is the IDL, right? Stack Proto 3 Go package. Oh, blah, hello world. Java multiple files. Why would you have Java? Why? It doesn't know about them. It doesn't know about IDL or prototype. I need to put a help command that understands IDL. The greeting service definition, greeting send a service. Version slow reply. Service greeter. Oh, I hate it when people make nouns out of verbs, like greeter instead of greet. But that makes sense because that's how you define interfaces. It goes the same way. So, stringer, for example, FMT stringer interface that makes strings. I mean, stringer is not a thing. It's not a word. Hello request. So we have a service and then we have messages, right? The messages are the protobuf. That's like what gets communicated with a wire, right? I'm curious to see if we can use our other thing for this. So what is it? gRPC. Wait, gRPC curl. And then we send it to, where is it? Localhost 50051. How do you do that? Huh. Enable verbose output. Address. Flags. Address is an option when. Is it only optional when used with list or describe? So let me see. A full qualified method. Typically be the form host : port. Or host can be an IP address, host name. If IPv6. IPv6 address, it must be surrounded by brackets. Uh-huh. Okay, so let's try it again. Well, it didn't work. Plain text. Oh, I know. Don't you love that? I think this actually will work. I just have to do list. Does not look like a TLS handshake. TLS is the default. No reflection API. I want the reflection API. World. So if you get world, it's supposed to show you everything. Interesting. Oh no, that was hello world. Yeah, I got plain text. We have to figure out what the method is now. Which I'm going to try to read the IDL for. You know, bash scripts? I don't. I mean, I use the standard, POSIX standard. Get up if I have to, but I don't like it. Greeter, say hello. Right. Right. Good idea. God, this is such a bunch of unnecessary bullshit. What the hell is this? Get name. Oh my god. This is pb.go, yeah. It's whatever. Vimgo, do not edit this file as a generated file. Where does it say that? How is it picking that up? I want to know. Does this have a Vim setting in it? Is that Vimgo? So you still, are you fucking kidding me? So we might as well just use REST. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to swear. I'm trying really hard. I'm not trying really, am I? You have to put greeter in the name? Too few arguments. It's the query for service descriptor. Hello, world greeter server. Does not support the reflection API. How about just say hello? It says world here, which means it had to have been posted or something. Where's an example of it? The very top. Yeah, but how do you pass arguments? I don't know how. If let's say the symbol is if present should be a fully qualified service name. If present, all methods of the service are listed. But it says it doesn't have a reflection API, so we already looked at the service name. The service name is I mean, let's look at the client first. I mean, it generated this code automatically. That's why people don't use gRPC curl. Because it makes you a program that'll do it. I mean, that's not horrible. You know what I mean? Go build. Damn it. I can't see. Go build greeter. What am I missing? I'm doing it right. Are you telling me it has to come first? Oh my god. So stupid. That's the point. The whole point of options is they can go anywhere. Greeting, hello world. The address to connect to. The name to greet. Oh. Huh. Yeah, I don't know if I want to even mess with GPR gRPC curl after all that, because we know that when we do the builder, the generator, it's going to make us an application that's automatically going to be able to query any of the fields every time we have to build it, and we already have to do a rebuild anyway. Does that make sense? So because we're going to get a client and a server automatically by any Protalk build, I see why the purpose of some of those other gRPC curl tools is defeated, because you don't care. Now, if you were debugging this, right? If you were trying to administer an application that uses gRPC, I would use gRPC curl all day long, and I can imagine being like a Kubernetes administrator in the middle of administering a low level, doing some sort of low level debugging of a of a gRPC service in the cluster, and that would be the only way to talk to it. So I definitely think learning gRPC curl is a valuable skill to have. Kind of maybe built out of band of the server side, then tool is invaluable. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Or it might be not using Go, right? But to a Go developer, they're probably just going to use the stuff that gets built out of it. And I suspect that's part of this tutorial. Let's actually continue to read before we abandon this. I need some lunch. I'm really hungry. Update the gRPC service. In the section, update the application, protocol buffers, and rebuild it. All you need to know is that both the server and the client stub have a say hello RPC method that takes a hello request parameter from the client and returns a hello reply from the server that the method is defined like this. All right. Server reflection. Oh, to add reflection? Yeah, that might be worth doing. It's good if you want to call some arbitrary function with arbitrary arguments. What I don't like is that you have to have a service and give it a name. I mean, one of the reasons that we're evaluating gRPC versus REST is, CRUD versus whatever. If you're using gRPC, you're not limited to CRUD commands. But you can force non-CRUD commands into CRUD if you have to. One of the things I was hoping to get out of gRPC was the use of verbs at the top level, and apparently we don't get that. So even though it's not HTTP and it's not a URL, whatever it is, but it's, it's going to be greeter / hello request, right? And you're going to send a hello request to the greeter, and then you're going to get a response. So that is not the same as a procedure. No, say hello is, right? For now on, you need to both the server and the client stub have a say hello RPC method that takes method. See how they said method? That means that it's hanging off of the greeter object, which means that they're not using truly functional stuff. They've got this idea of a service, and then the service can do a bunch of things, which is why it's an interface, because it's a bunch of methods. It's very object-oriented still. RPC method takes a hello. I was hoping to get away from that. RPC method takes a hello request parameter from the client and returns a hello reply from the server. And the method is defined. What's that? Say hello. I like that. And so did you figure out how to get the other one to work? Good. So gRPC curl. Plain. We have to do plain, right? Don't we have to do plain? Plain text. localhost colon 50051. Say hello. I tried that, I thought. Method is not expected to format. Service or method name. I think I have to put the other thing on it. We don't have reflection, no. I think we have to do the greeter thing. We read that someplace. What was the other one we read where it had to be... How does it... I don't know. It's clearly say hello is not going to work. Service slash method. Oh, you can use the slash. Reflection.register one line change in the server main. Seriously? Oh, really? I wonder that when we built it, we probably could just put that on there, right? Reflection.register one. I don't see it. Register greeter service. I don't. I have to learn the API for this. I don't know. Say hello. This I try to get them to remove this. Isn't this ugly? I hate that. This context, they make such a big deal about not stuttering in Go, and then they forced every single person to use context to do it in every single piece of code. Whatever. Hello world.greeter server. I don't know what's wrong. We maybe it's because we don't have an argument. Maybe we're getting the wrong kind of error, you know? Stuff. Too many arguments. Yeah, not quite working. Protopath of the protocol. Dash D name something. Wait, we can use dash D? Awesome. Greeter server does not support reflection API. I don't know. Say hello to what? No. Still, I mean, this is not relevant. You need to give it the proto file with dash proto. You have to do that? Huh. Okay. Well, let's try. Proto. Wait. Where does it go here? Probably dash proto. Hello world. Dot proto. Target service is not exposed. Service greeter. Oh, it's a capital. Maybe it's just say hello. Is not expected format. How would it know the protocol? Because it doesn't need to know the protocol. It doesn't need to. That's the whole point. This is the thing I don't like about this. The client has to know the entire schema of the whole thing. That if I were just making a CGI script in 1998, I wouldn't have to do any of this shit. I could just request it. Same with REST. Does not expose a server called greeter. It must be called something different. I don't know what. Service greeter, say hello as the service. The end. So proto hello proto localhost greeter.say hello. And then do I have to give it its arguments? Target server does not expose service greeter. Maybe it's not answering anymore. Maybe I broke it. There's no hello world in there. Why is there hello world in there? It's fully qualified, yeah. But where does the fully qualification come from? Go package. Examples hello world, hello world. Oh, package hello world. Okay, so you have to include the package name in any of the services? Damn, that is like a fucking ugly URL scheme. That's horrible. Hello world greeter, say hello. There you go. There we are. Wow. I mean, I'm processing this. You can use slashes or dots, apparently. I mean, we're learning things for sure. I mean, this is, if I'm ever debugging a gRPC thing, I feel more capable of it now, but we don't have reflection. Let's do -D. I'm going to do the JSON version. Name something here. Oopsie. I guess they don't support that. At least they don't support the arguments at that place. We'll add reflection in just a second. I want to add reflection for sure. But I have to have my options in the right place because it's fucking flags. There. All right, it worked. I like how I converted it into JSON. I really do like that. Because we can do this. You know what I mean? I like that a lot. I'm glad I figured that out. It took a long time to figure that out, but I'm glad. Yeah. Okay, well, what I'm going to do, based on what we know, is I'm going to limp myself for the rest of the day. I'm going to limp myself through creating one gRPC endpoint procedure, whatever the hell they called, and is one I won't use. If it doesn't use JSON and YAML, yeah. Well, I'm glad we found the gRP curl. gRP curl to be accurate. Let's try it with reflection, and then I'll take a break. And then I'm gonna make lunch. It'll be a long break. I'll leave the music on and stuff, but um, because we gotta. How much time we got? And then yeah, we got time. Uh, it's a great idea. I know we should both. We should all take breaks. Let's do one more thing. Let me do it with reflection so I can remove the dash proto thing. Let me get that to work right now. And after that, I'm gonna limp my way through creating a protobuf file for a single remote procedure called run. And it's going to accept two things. It's going to accept a buffer of standard input, and it's going to accept a message, which is going to be the command, which is going to be interpreted by the target shell on the target system with SSH. And those two parameters will be the only thing that gets passed into the Sacra controller, the Sacra server, the secure authorized remote client execution, remote command execution, and we'll go from there. I actually think this is a great idea, a great example of a fun. In fact, now that I get into it, I'm thinking about this might be a good way to create an actual gRPC service that has legs, um, that people could use to learn about all the different interactive pieces of the thing. Um, if we do it with queues and stuff, and concurrent connections to the same target, we could actually use it. I mean, it hits a lot of bases, right? It hits gRPC. If we have the REST API in front of that to handle the gRPC, I mean, if we create this entire system, we've hit all of the major technologies of modern uh, distributed microservices development, which is cool because it's a very advanced topic, but at least it's got one of each. It might be a fun project all by itself to just redocument one by one all the steps, and just to kind of show all the moving parts of a distributed services project. Because that's what this is. This is just distributed services. You know, what if you make a typo in name? Good question. Um, oh, look at that. Error getting requested. A message type hello world has no field named name. Interesting. That got print to standard error too, which is good. Another plus for gRP curl. All right. So if we do, I want to get rid of proto though. I don't want to do anything without reflection. I'm only going to use reflection for this because I don't want to have everybody have to know where my proto files are. So I don't know how to add that. Somebody said it was a relatively easy fix. So help me find that fix again. You said it was in the server? It's in the server, right? I didn't find register in here at all. Register greeter server is the only code I found in here. Is this in the PB file? Is it in the hello PB? If it is, then my question is, how do I get it to generate? Paste it after the read greeter service, yeah? And in there or where? What does this return? Nothing. I mean, how do you do that? Register S? Is this one of those functional operators again? Options? Is that a functional option? Oh, damn. I hope not. That's a functional option. That's why it doesn't make any sense. It's like reflection register S. So that like injects a registration into your server, I guess, right? Which I'm sure that you can specify when you do your code generation. But I don't know how to do that yet. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? What the hell is going on? Oh, this Go is freaking out because it's trying to find the reflection. It's trying to resolve the reflection thing. Yeah. God damn it. It's trying. This Go is trying to pull down the reflection API in the background because I have a dependency on it, and I can't get out of it. Yep, that's what was going on. So Go run. Watch, it'll do it now. It'll do the same thing again. You'll just see it. Visual Studio Code. Yeah, it's trying. It was trying to import it though. That was the problem. It was trying to find it. It was like going through all of the stuff it already knows about. Yeah, it's one of the downsides of it because it does have to run a program to get that right. It was like, where the hell is it? I have no idea where reflection is. Right. Server. Package. Greeter server. Oh. Yeah. Right. Righto. I didn't want to do this, but well, where's my gRPC command line? Did I lose it? I did. Oh, there it is. Good. Good. Could I parse the given file because no proto file? But we don't want one. Oh, damn. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. It worked. It worked without the protofile file. I'm not even in that directory. I'm in my home directory. It totally worked. Yep. Now I can just list. Oh, good point. Yeah, let's do that. Let's play with that. List. Oh, we have the hello world greeter. Yeah. Why would you not have that? Under what conditions would you not want that? I would always want that. How? Why would you torture your people? I mean, why? Seriously, like, why would you totally, you know? You would be torturing your users forever by not having that. That should be a best practice. Somebody's gonna be like, well, we don't want to. Some of them are secret, and we don't want people to find them. If they don't want security by obscurity is a fail. Don't do that. Somebody will brute force that shit. There probably already is code to do that. Just like that, just like you can brute force all the routes on a given endpoint by even if they're not linked from. There's tons of code. Go Buster, for example, does that, right? I'm sure that exists already for gRPC. So why would you not turn reflection on by default? It seems stupid to me. It seems idiotic to not do that. Damn, look at this. It even tells you the actual protobuf stuff. Oh man, I love that. I love that. I mean, REST does not do that. There's nothing in REST that comes even close to that. No. I like that a lot. I like that enough to pursue that option for what I'm going to be building. So, I mean, I have to just not look at the code. When I look at the generated code, I get very sad and angry, and I'm not going to look at the generated code. I'm just going to say, look, you don't ever have to look at this code. This is the code that's always there all the time. Oh, here's something interesting. Yeah, it uses dot in front of hello world. I wonder if it would work with that dot now. I wonder if I can put dot in front of the package name. I think it's actually a full domain. Oh, guess not. Guess I was wrong. Guess I was wrong there. All right, let's take a break. Here's some music. It's gonna be a rather long break, so I'm gonna go make food. My pack is charged up for tonight, and I am not gonna use it. Otherwise, I'd take you with me to make lunch. Um, so I'm gonna be making lunch in the other room and grabbing some coffee and stuff. Um, trying to stay awake. Frankly, I'm getting kind of tired because I'm kind of hungry. And then what? Then we are going to come back and we're going to make a run method in a package, and I'm going to get that so that I can call it, and then I'll plug in all the other pipe, all the other the stuff to it, the package and all that. So the end goal here is a standalone, you know, safe, um, secure, authenticated remote execution, command execution tool. That's what we're doing. All right. Talk to you in a bit. Yeah, I think the we're just talking during the break. I think there were some conversations about how ways you might be able to put gRPC to compile itself, like at as each request comes in or something like that. And I think ultimately, when you're weighing gRPC versus REST and any JSON-based interface, API kind of thing, you're talking about parsing the text of the JSON structured data without knowing anything about its schema in advance every time. And even if you can expect the code in a particular format or whatever, you still have that to deal with text parsing. And JSON is highly efficient. I think it's probably the most efficient text-based um, structured, you know, uh, file format that you can have. Period. I think it's the most efficient to parse. I mean, you can make the argument that YAML is more efficient to parse, but that's only simplified YAML that's equivalent to JSON. It wouldn't be anything that's actual YAML, which is extremely complicated. So JSON is the go-to for text-based, and it's just enough for most things, right? Where the latency of parsing the file is not that big a deal. They're small files; they parse really quickly. The real advantage of gRPC that I keep hearing about, which I've never used, but is that the protocol is a binary protocol, and which means that it can be unparsed. It doesn't have to be parsed. It can be unmarshaled as each byte is read in from the server, uh, because you know exactly how many bits are in each of the fields, and what fields spans to jump over for deprecation, which just dumps a little bit. When you deprecate a field, I learned this last year, a couple of years ago. When you deprecate a field in protobuf, like you retire it, that's why they have the numbers involved. It's always there, right? So that binary field, it's like the reason we have, was it 60% virus DNA in our DNA. You can never remove it, right? So it's always growing, but the space savings versus a text-based protocol, it easily outweighs um, any offset from ancient things. So you just get a slightly smaller packet. I mean, we're talking about really tiny packets for most of the stuff that comes into gRPC and protobuf, and that's why it wins for anything that has to do with streaming or gaming or any of that stuff, where you've got a really really high demand for high performance for streaming data that can be immediately parsed as is. It doesn't have to be unmarshaled, really, not really parsed at all. It's just unmarshaled. So that's why protobuf is more prominent. In our case, though, the decision is more not so much about efficiency as to how we're going to get to the data, but it's more about what's going to be more supported out there. What is going to be easy for us to maintain, stuff like that. And it's still a dead heat between an OpenAPI endpoint like jobs or something like that and gRPC. And I think that the one thing that still keeps me on the gRPC front is the fact that we can actually architect. We only have one call, right? It's right now it's just run, and but we might want to have run and then have different parameters like run on all or run on this, right? And if we were doing it with REST, we would have jobs, and we would have, we'd have like an endpoint called jobs or something, and then we would have run on or commands or whatever, and then we would have slash run on all, and that would, you know, be I suppose an HTTP put uh, or post. Actually, it would have to be a post because it would have to take standard input, and it would be an HTTP post, and that would be, the rest of the URL or the first line or whatever. We'd have to figure out a way to communicate that command line in addition to the random input data, and then that would go over to SSH. Whereas if we're doing it as a method from gRPC, we're going to have to say run, but run is already designed to take in data like that, and it is already designed to take a structured data of some kind. So on the one hand, actually, I don't know how we would deal with I don't know how we would deal with piping random data up to a certain point if we were going to do that. We're not going to do that, but if we were, how would we hand off standard input from the API to the SSH thing? In our case, we're always buffering that up into a single variable, so either REST or the other one would be fine. I think we're going to be good there. This particular application that we're making is buffering up. There's no handing off of a direct data stream to something all the way through. That's not happening. So if we have standard input, it would be buffered into a variable, and then the variable would be passed, no matter how big that is. And that can be binary data. That's not a problem. So, because we don't want to use this as a data transfer protocol. It's more for the other thing. No, I'm just trying to think how we would actually hand off a data pipe all the way from the application all the way through into SSH. I think it could probably be done because all of the technologies in between there are based on data streams, especially if you use gRPC. So theoretically that could be done. I don't know that we want to do that though. And there's a lot of cool reasons to do that, but then none of them are really practical. For example, we could, if we opened a tunnel directly, then the application itself could actually dynamically watch the stuff coming back byte for byte, not even line for line, and that could be interesting. Another reason to do that, if we had two-way, is we could actually emulate a terminal. And I know that there's already WebRPC applications, WebAssembly applications that already do that. They directly emulate a terminal by sending the exact characters of the TTY across the wire. We don't want that, right? We don't. It's not like we're opening up a terminal to these target sessions through the web. That's already been done. So those are different methods of doing it. So the remaining task, and I'm just gonna tell you right now, I don't have it in me to finish this task today. I am really dead. I'm gonna go take a nap, and I know it's 1:30. That's the great thing about working remote. If I don't have a meeting, I can take a nap and get refreshed and come back at it when my brain actually works. So I'm not wasting time. So I'm just going to tell you that's what I'm doing. I'm going to go take a nap and get my brain fresh. And when we come back, depending on when I come back, we have a long way to go before this. Depends on how long I end up napping and doing other thing. I also have some stuff at work to do. I have to do my time card and a bunch of things at work. So I'm going to cut this particular video short. And we'll see what happens, and then you can just watch for my notification when I come back. I'm obviously going to be working on this over the weekend, whether it's later today or Saturday or Sunday. So that's the thing. The next thing we're going to be doing though is going to be, I feel like we're good enough with gRPC and protobuf to actually start making our first query with that. And I'll do that, and then we're gonna over the weekend we're gonna massage our existing SSH client code into code that maintains an open TCP IP connection, which is the main thing that we're trying to get to. But all this other stuff is kind of interesting and useful. But it's good that I went through it because now I have a lot of options to talk about on Monday when we have a meeting about it. So I'm going to sign off on YouTube, and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you when we talk to you. I don't imagine anything's going to happen to stop tonight, but just always check the schedule, please. If you want to know what's going on, you can always check the schedule. If you're in Twitch, !Schedge or Cal, you can always tell what's going on there. It's actually displayed on my page. And this is a Google calendar that you can follow if you want to know exactly when I'm planning on being here. So thank you for hanging out. I hope you learned a little bit of something. I certainly did today. Bye.